Welcome everybody out to podcast number 367. Are you planning like you were going to be gone? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome everybody. I hope you're doing well. I'm hailing from Munich, Germany with Felipe, Spencer, Reno, and we have Janosch and Marco. And they're not here with me doing the podcast. I'm going to grab them at other times throughout the day and throughout the week. But right now I'm in the hotel about to head out. I think it's 6:32 a.m., which means it's 9:32 p.m. your time. Yeah, on Tuesday. That's super fun. So I'm having a great time. We had a really neat flight out on Monday. We were delayed in New York for about 4 hours, so I got here later. Spencer and Reno and I got here later than we thought we should have. So we got here yesterday at 10:30 a.m. But we immediately left the hotel, walked through Germany, took the train downtown, and we were able to meet with Janosch and take a tour of the BMW showroom and the line. We weren't actually able to take any pictures or photos of their manufacturing facility for obvious reasons. I didn't even think about that. But then we went through the museum. It was fantastic. So had a great day yesterday. My mind is teeming with concepts and thoughts about how much farther Takt planning will take us in the United States in construction than I previously did. I mean, it's like our concept of Takt planning and its impact is so, or up until now has been so far less than what it needs to be. It's it's almost remarkable in concept. Tax planning enables one process flow. Tax planning enables the management of procurement system. Tax planning enables the management of areas and the tracking of trade damage. Tax planning enables the tracking and quick payment of contractors real time on the spot. Tax planning enables quality. Basically, the breaking up of the building geographically or spatially or by area really does enable all other tracking and alignment systems. And then I was just thinking about it. You can't manage what you can't measure, and you can't measure what you can't see. So tax planning allows you to see by breaking up the areas, basically every other single metric in construction. And I thought that was really powerful. It's really not based on a schedule of values from a scope standpoint or how you want to bill the project financially. It really is broken up into areas. So there were just, my mind is just teeming. The other thing is when I was, the one reflection that I wanted to give you from yesterday was we were in the BMW plant, the factory, the manufacturing line, and they do have the andon. And they're buttons, they're not cords, but anybody on the line can stop the line if they see a quality defect. And I was thinking about that. When the line stops, when they're making a car, the whole line stops because it's all on one electronic system, meaning the car is going from one end all the way to the other. It might take, a couple of days. It might take weeks to get through, but it's all on that one line. At least with this segment that I'm talking about. And so when somebody pushes that button, the whole line stops. I've recently been counseling people that if they have a problem in construction, meaning there's a delay, a rain delay, a defect, a procurement item, or something weird going on like that, that they really need to stop all the trades or at least give them the extra time and shift the entire schedule from left to right, and to create a buffer takt or a buffer takt time scale, meaning we call them a takt time buffer, whether it's a day or 2 day or a week, but basically just move the entire system together as a network to the right. And you can do that because in takt time planning or in takt planning, you optimize the sequence and you gain buffers, and you can actually do that. And I was thinking about it. It's hard for some people to think about it that way, that you can actually just shift the sequences to the right, interlocked together, from left to right. And instead of just having one delay and then attempting to recover it and keep everybody else working at full efficiency. And I'm likening that to the line that I saw, that they basically, once one area stops or is paused for a quality defect because they want to fix it or something's going on, everything stops, which means they all stop together. So I like that concept a lot. So the reason that we love tax planning is because it is a system that creates buffers. We love Scrum because it's a system that creates buffers. We love Last Planner because it's a system that creates buffers. We do not support, at least I don't, CPM scheduling because it is not a system that creates buffers. In fact, it's a system that pushes you right up to the end date with a critical path, where if anything was delayed, the whole project is delayed. That is not a good way ever, and under any circumstances, to plan anything. You should be able to create buffers so that when you run into problems, you shift the network to the right. So I really like that. As I go through the rest of the podcast, I'll be for the rest of the week, I'll be attempting to pick these things up. And today we're doing the simulation for tax planning that will hopefully really open our eyes to a number of different concepts. So I'm very excited about that. So what am I excited about in life right now? Right now, I'm excited about the scaling of this, and today really doing the simulation. So I will return a report. Talking about fans and feedback, this is a point of feedback from, this is a point of feedback from the superintendent boot camps. Truly life-changing, both personally and professionally. I'll never be the same again, and that's a good thing. I love that. That's really good feedback. I appreciate those who gave us feedback for those camps and the ones that we continue to do. Okay, so here's some conflict. You're assuming you'll be there in your planning, and you're not planning like you won't be there. So I was in Northern California giving a talk about how foremen and trade partners can be basically more productive. And so I was giving a talk, and I was drawing on the whiteboard, because that's my superpower, is drawing on a whiteboard. I was drawing out production principles. So we were covering Little's law, the law of bottlenecks, the law of variation, Kingman's formula, Brooks's law. Then we talked about the labor teaming principles, where we talk about context switching, the effects of overtime, the effects of onboarding, the complexity of communication where we have more workers, just all the things that slow us down. And then we went from that into the meeting system, how using the Last Planner system basically with the Takt production system. So under TPS, you have a master schedule, you have your pull planning where you plan your phases, your 6-week make ready look ahead, your weekly work plan, your day plan, and then basically you communicate that to the workers and what foreman could do to communicate that. And I drew, and it was actually a really neat sketch. So I'm not bragging, but I did I am bragging. So I did a really, really good job of drawing that toy soldier. It was really quite remarkable. And so I drew a toy soldier on the board, and I was like, as foreman, you have to have a safety presence in the field. You have to be coaching and teaching and mentoring all day, bringing materials and information to your workers and clearing the path. But you have to look at it like everybody's a toy soldier, and it's not disrespect. It's not some kind of analogy that's disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. It's that you have to look at people respectfully enough to imagine them like this. Stand them straight up. They're clean and pristine and uniformed. And I like the analogy of being a soldier, because that's how we need to be acting in the field, is that we're all soldiers, right? So we stand the soldier up, and we wind them up. Winding them up is like, here's the layout, here's the information, here's the here's all of the material, sorry, here's the tools and equipment, here's the instructions, here are the quality expectations, everything. Wind them up and make sure that they have clear instructions. And if you wind up a toy soldier, they will march forward unless something tips them over. And then what happens when a toy soldier it tips over? You go back, you stand them up, dust them off, wind them up again, and set them going forward again. And it's really a neat analogy in my mind that has absolutely no disrespect communicated in it whatsoever. So I was talking about that our people need to have clear enough instructions to where we can wind them up and set them going forward, and then continually coach and support and adjust their trajectory and stand them up when they get tipped over. And this thought came to me. The reason that people aren't planning really, really well in their huddle system, meaning for a foreman, you have the afternoon foreman huddle, and then you plan plan any key logistics. You do your production planning for the next day. You fill out your pre-task plans. You fill out your permits, right? The next morning, you go to the morning worker huddle where the general contractor or the prime contractor talks to all of the workers together and creates a social group. Then as a foreman, you do the 25-minute crew preparation huddle where you do your 3S'ing, you talk about the 8 ways, you do a training, you fill out your pre-task plan, you get feedback from the trades, from the actual workers. You get all of the workers to where they've shaken out their tools, they're ready to go to work, and everybody has clear instructions, right? And then you go throughout the day and you're coaching and mentoring and managing, coaching, mentoring, managing. And then at the afternoon, right after lunch, you check in with everybody again, and then you work until the afternoon foreman huddle where you turn in your daily reports and you make sure that your production planning is logged for the day, and then you plan the next day with the prime contractor or the general contractor on site. Then I was thinking about it. Why do more foremen not do that system? Why do they not do that system? And we've already talked about the fact that a lot of foremen have the huddle board, or superintendents have the huddle board in their head. But the other thing is they're not planning like they're going to be gone. And this really came into my mind because Reno and I headed to Germany, right? So the weeks ahead of time, we're getting everything done to the point that things can exist, or church can work properly, work can work properly, clients can work properly, information can be distributed properly, Katie's set up, everything's ready to go like we're gone. And if foremen every day knew for a fact that their people were set up, that they've wound up their toy soldiers to the point that they weren't needed that day. Not that they're going to go anywhere, because they're not going to Home Depot and they're not going to escape, but planned like they weren't going to be there, then that is when we're going to get some remarkable planning. Would every worker have a list of things they were supposed to do? Would every worker have their quality feature of work boards? Would every worker have a visual pre-task plan? Would everybody on the project site have what they need, with the foreman knowing and feeling confident that they wouldn't get phone calls? I really hope that that could be the case. And so when foremen are planning, I really think that we need to get to that point. So when we're planning in the morning, it's not, oh, I'll get back with you later, let's sidebar that, let's do that. It's, how can I write things down, put it on my visual, out of my head huddle board, create sketches, create standard work, create printed day plans, create visuals, create lists, or teach my people to create lists and create sequences to where they can succeed without me. I was learning and I gave you that talk the other day about the Olympic Games and that bicycling team, where we talked about the aggregation of marginal gains. And I heard that from Terry Bagley again in a talk, and I really appreciated that. The other thing he talked about was unforced errors, right, in tennis. So a forced error, even though it's still an error, was if an opponent playing tennis, or it can happen in a number of games, but if an opponent playing tennis basically spikes that ball or forces that ball while you're on the other end of the court, forces that ball on the opposite end, to where to serve it or return that ball, that's almost impossible, right? That's a forced error. An unforced error is if you had every chance to return that ball, to make that play, to play that game, or to make that action, and you tank it anyway. It's an unforced error. So my point is, people say, well, tax planning is let me whine about this for just a minute. There's a guy that came to a superintendent boot camp. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's fantastic. He went back, he created a tax plan, he stabilized his project site, he cleaned his project site, he stabilized deliveries. He got all the trade partners on board. He pull planned his sequences. He has the schedule, and he's projected to finish a month early. He showed it to his project manager, and his project manager giggled and said, construction doesn't go like that. Good luck. And the superintendent was like, we're going to create this stability, and we're going to get this done. And we're going to follow this plan, and I'm going to show you. And the PM giggled and said, construction doesn't work like that, and walked away. And I was so annoyed. Like, now we have superintendents actually creating stability and scheduling and doing these wonderful things. And we've got people out there giggling and acting stupidly. The point is, if you are serving forced and unforced errors, then the whole game sucks. But if we can at least get rid of unforced errors, if we can at least stabilize things on the project site that don't need to be unstable, if we can at least remove variation on the project site that we can remove, and allow ourselves the chance to focus more and to reduce the impact of forced errors, then we're going to be so much better off. And I was calling it inevitable and non-inevitable variation. But if any of you are out there, or, play tennis or play any sports where there's an opponent, I want to mention this concept of forced and unforced errors. When we in construction do not stabilize first and then optimize, then we have forced and unforced errors. But when we in construction, we use, and every project needs a couple of things. They need personal organization systems. They need a team balance and health system. They need Takt planning and integrated control on their construction project. They 100% need that. And they need operational excellence according to the principles that I've been talking about in this podcast and in the book, Elevating Construction Superintendents. If they have those things, then we will get rid of, for the most part, unforced errors so that we can better deal with forced errors. So I hope you've enjoyed this podcast today. I mean, really, we need to be creating so much stability. And if you think you're like, yeah, I understand what Jason's talking about, this creates stability, multiply that by 3 or 4 times, and then you'll start to get what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you don't get it. I'm saying I'm not doing a good job of communicating it. We need stability to the point that things can succeed on the construction project site without us. And the huddle board and the visual systems need to be outside of our head. And it needs to be so well communicated that if we weren't there, people could still succeed. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.